Okay, who gets a benefit from this? Now, those may not be the same people as the stakeholders. They may be. They may not be. Okay, if I am building software to control an irrigation scheme for farmers, the farmers and even the people who will ultimately buy their food are the beneficiaries. They may not be stakeholders in the sense of having a direct input into the process, but you also have to be looking at them. And then the third question, and again there's some overlap, is who gets to make the actual decision here as to what gets done and who doesn't get done. And then I guess the last line there is really sort of, I think, evident. The division of all these things, who's involved and so on, is really going to depend on the types of software. And we're going to be looking somewhat separately at several different kinds of software. The desktop software, stuff that you sit here, client-server software, where you go to an ATM and you interact with the bank or something like that. Embedded software, where, as I said, it's a traffic light or something inside of a medical instrument where, it's not even obvious there's a computer in there, and so on. And finally, the question arises, you should never, ever accept the notion that there's anything that is always good. Okay? If somebody comes to you and says, I have the solution to every problem, your first question should be, what is it not good for? If they can't tell you what it's not good for, they don't have a solution, they have a religion. No offense. The question is software engineering always appropriate? And no. There are many kinds of software development where software engineering may not be appropriate, although that doesn't mean that the things that you learn in this course won't be valuable. Because everything in this course can be applied or not applied to a degree, depending on what your organization will tolerate, depending on various things. You frequently have the argument that, your boss will say, what is all this software engineering stuff? We can't afford the time for that. And the only possible answer is we can't afford not to do it. It's much more expensive not to do it. However, there are times when it's not necessary or it's not very necessary. One of them times is when you don't have the ability to specify the problem. If you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, most of the tools in software engineering won't help you any. And there are times like that. A lot of them have to do with things like research projects and things like that. If you go and get a grant from some organization and say, I'm going to investigate the possibilities of using technique over here for accomplishing this socially worthwhile goal, you don't have a software project there. What your ultimate objective is to spend the grant money and produce a report. And you get the best you can out of it, but it's not a project in the same sense. The other situation is where we'll see as we move into this that in order to do analysis, in order to do measurement, we have to be able to say that we know how to do each of the pieces of this problem. If there's a major piece that we don't know how to do, we really don't have any idea how to accomplish it, we just think we can probably figure it out if we work at it long enough, then you've got some serious problems in dealing with it as a software project. For example, if somebody comes to me and says, I want a speech recognition that can recognize Thai speech, maybe there is such a thing, but I personally don't know of it. So I have to say, well, I studied computer engineering. I studied, cognitive neuroscience. I know how to go about doing the research on this, but I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't even know if I'm going to be successful. Okay, so that's very difficult to apply software engineering to. On the other hand, it may still be very useful to me to use some of the same tools that we're going to be talking about in this course.
You should be able to go to the eKMUTT bookstore and ask them for it. The edition that they have is not this edition, is not hardcover, it's softcover, and it should be fairly inexpensive because it is an Asian edition, student edition. So I don't know exactly how much it will cost, but it should not be more expensive than your typical textbook. Yes? No, it's in English. It's in English. I would not be able to read it if it was in Thai. But it is in English. It's, I believe, published in Singapore. Pearson Education is the publisher, and I believe that they have a big installation in Singapore. That's their regional headquarters. And if anyone has trouble getting this, if it is not in the bookstore, please let me know by email or let Kun Varin know, and I will go talk to them. But last week, I went to talk to the manager of the bookstore, and he said he expected them to be here this week. So hopefully they should be there. I don't know. I don't know exactly, but it should not be any more expensive than a typical textbook. It comes from the same publisher as many of your other textbooks. The other thing we forgot to talk about, let's see, is the details of the class schedule. You already know that it's on Fridays starting at 1:30 and going till approximately 4:30. We will have the midterm exam on December 26th, which is, as I understand it, the week when everyone else is having their midterm exams. The 5th of December is His Majesty the King's birthday, so that is a holiday. We will not have class that day. Now, as it happens, we also have Friday, the 2nd of January, the day after New Year's Day. Now, I understand that a lot of people go away for that week. Can I see, will you raise your hand if you will be away on that day, on the 2nd of January? How many people are going away for New Year's holiday? So most of you will be here. Okay. Then right now I think we will probably have class. We need to see how quickly we go through the material, but there is a great deal of content in this course. In fact, some universities will have 2 semesters of software engineering. So I would rather have the class if most people will be here. But we can see. I think we're still missing a few people. We have 20 minutes Thai time maybe. But I'm going to start anyway, because if we wait, we just won't get finished. How many of you have heard the term software lifecycle? Is that a term you have heard in another course? Software lifecycle? Is that at all familiar? No? When Kurt was talking in the early part of the lecture, he mentioned that a software system, unlike perhaps a program, can live a long time. Software can be used for many years. The traffic control system that Kurt talked about has been in use for over 20 years. And although it has problems,